Hello, I'm Mark from Moonstone Publications. Welcome to this overview of some of the stories we've covered over the past week. But first, please hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and colleagues. Coming up in this week's update, a major overhaul of the country's labour laws is in the works. Moonstone Compliance streamlines FSP licensing. The courts may be able to override antenuptial contracts. Consumers seem to regard high levels of debt as normal. South Africa moves towards mandatory sustainability reporting. And the Supreme Court of Appeal rules on a member's liability for a close corporation's debt. A far-reaching overhaul of the country's labour laws is in the works, with draft amendments poised to modernise protections for both traditional employees and gig workers. If adopted, the reforms will shift retrenchment oversight from the Minister of Labour to the CCMA, restore full post-dismissal challenges to large-scale layoffs, and double statutory severance pay. A new Labour Relations Act schedule will redefine employee to cover platform contractors, granting them rights to minimum pay, paid leave, CCMA dispute resolution, and freedom of association. Employers may soon face fresh obligations to formalise contracts, contribute to UIF and the Compensation Fund, and provide clear on-call terms to part-time staff. Navigating the FSCA's licensing requirements can be a daunting task. Financial services providers that attempt self-licensing frequently underestimate form complexity, supporting document needs, and rigorous screenings, only to face delays or outright rejections. Moonstone Compliance has more than 2 decades of expertise in licensing applications, amendments, and profile changes for all categories of FSPs. Moonstone's service includes personalised guidance, thorough application preparation, and liaison with the FSCA. Avoid frustrations and unnecessary delays by partnering with Moonstone Compliance. The courts may be granted greater discretion to ensure fairer asset division in marriages governed by antenuptial contracts that exclude accrual. The General Laws Family Matters Amendment Bill empowers courts to redistribute assets in marriages out of community of property without accrual when an outright application of the contract would produce an unconscionable result. Rather than completely voiding antenuptial agreements, the bill builds a statutory fairness clause into every contract. Judges may partially override separation clauses if one spouse's non-financial contributions, such as homemaking or supporting a family business, justify a share of the other's estate. Nearly half of South Africans now dedicate more than 40% of their take-home pay to debt repayments, well above the recommended 30% threshold. According to Debtbusters Money Stress Tracker, 63% of respondents allocate at least 30% of income to servicing debt, even as the proportion who believe they owe less than their peers jumped from 18% 3 years ago to 32% this year. Debtbusters says this growing perception of manageable debt may be fueling further borrowing. South Africa has taken a step towards mandatory corporate sustainability reporting with a new cooperation agreement between the Financial Sector Conduct Authority and the International Finance Corporation. Under the pact, the FSCA and the IFC will work to embed the International Sustainability Standards Board's Global Disclosure Framework into national regulations. While large and multinational firms have already begun voluntary adoption, this partnership likely paves the way for binding rules, potentially affecting JSE-listed companies, public interest entities, and large employers. The Supreme Court of Appeal has clarified that simply being a member of a close corporation does not make a member personally liable for its debts, unless the member actively participates in abusing the entity's separate legal status. In overturning a decision by the High Court in Pretoria, the SCA held that liability under Section 65 of the Closed Corporations Act requires gross abuse of the corporation's juristic personality. The ruling reinforces the principle that personal responsibility for a corporation's obligations hinges on direct involvement in wrongful conduct, not on ownership alone. That's all we have for this week. You can read these stories and many more on our website, moonstone.co.za. Until next time, here's wishing you all the best from the team at Moonstone Information Refinery.